I remember when I first came to God, when I first met God, was in my brokenness. It was in my closet. I was at my wit's end. I was on my last leg. I was ready to just give up on everything. I couldn't understand why a person like me who loves so much, so deeply, very sincere, very unconditional. I could not understand why I was failing in relationships. Why was I allowing certain things to take place in my life and just putting up with every type of behavior? I just remember the time when I didn't love myself, when I did not appreciate myself, when I didn't put me first. Um, I didn't I didn't know how to. I didn't even know that I was supposed to, right? And so because nobody taught me that, I didn't see that coming up as a little girl. So I'm dealing with all of this throughout my entire life. And 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this is when I came to a place where I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't handle this on my own anymore. I didn't know what I was about to partake in. I didn't know what was going to take place. I didn't know that where I am today was even existed. I didn't know. I didn't know that God was so real. I had knew of this God. I heard about this God coming up, you know. I've been in and out of church, special occasions, nothing, it wasn't like it was a part of my upbringing, because it wasn't. It was just a Easter Sunday or Christmas, things like that, So I walked this life, what I thought was just, I'm just existing. I'm just living, I'm just here. So I knew of this God, but I did not know this God like I know the God, like I know him now. And so when I track back over my years and just where I am today, and when I'm searching for understanding, God, how did I get here? God, I didn't know this was a place. I didn't know this was a thing. Granted, I'm still going through things. Things are still not looking the way that I want them to. I'm going to put emphasis on the way I want them to. Because oftentimes that's how we get caught up. That's how we leave God's side. That's how we start not to believe in this God. But I have no choice but to believe in this God, because this is the same God who I didn't know, who I just knew of. This is the same God that has brought me to this place, who made crooked places straight. This is the God who parted the Red Sea. This is the God that is talked about in the Word. This is the living, breathing, active God that I am experiencing today, that I had no clue even really existed. I heard people quote scriptures and, put it in God's hands, or God wouldn't put more on you than you can bear. And, God this, God that, just thought it was just something that, you know, people said. So, but I always found myself in a position where I felt uncomfortable repeating something that I heard somebody else say because I was not sure. And then that's when I found out I had to experience this God for myself. I had to go through this journey to know this God that I knew of. I had to know him for myself. Because the only way that we know God, I mean, yep, it's all cool when people introduce God to us, you know, we hear his name, we hear Jesus, we hear all these things. But can't nobody have that relationship for you. You have to have that relationship for yourself. And so as I sit here today, as I am dealing with a few things in my life right now, to me seems very unfair. I know that this same God that pulled me to this place where I am today that I didn't even know existed, he is that same God that's going to pull me out of the situations that I'm going through. And so I have to remind myself of who he is, what he's done for me before. I have to remind myself that, Tiara, everything is not going to look like you want it to look. It never really does. It never really looks the way that I want it to look. You know, we plan all these things in our hearts. You know, we try to set ourselves up for the future as much as possible. At least I thought that's what I was doing. You know, I didn't think that I would be out of work for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, going on 3 weeks now, and not having the financial stability to hold me up. I was trying to prepare for that, for a time as such as this. And so I'm you know, when it first happened, I cried as if my doctor told me I had 3 weeks to live. I cried as if I forgot the God that I serve. I cried as if I was in this alone. I cried as if I had nothing. Like, I cried as if I didn't have somebody holding me up. You know, so in that moment, granted, you know, it's the human thing to do, to react in a way like humans do. For a moment, I forgot the God that I serve. For a moment. And then I had to remind myself, you got to snap out of this. All things are working for your good. You've been saying, Tiara, you work too much. You work 12, 16-hour days. You're tired. You've been saying you need a break. The only way you're going to get you're going to get a break is if God puts you down. So God found a way to put me down. For whatever the reason, whatever the lesson is, it is my responsibility as a child of God to lean on his understanding and not mine. To not ask too many questions. And that's been hard. But to just embrace this time, because I don't know what the Lord is about to do. I wish he showed us all the plan. But I think if he would have shown me this, if he would have shown me all the plan, all of the hiccups, all of the things, the work that's going to have to be involved, I wouldn't have done it. I would have been like, oh, that's too much. You want me to do this? Oh, and this the next step? Oh, I don't know if I could do that. I wouldn't have had the faith that I have in the Lord right now. Just trusting in him. You know, don't get me wrong. There is error all in me. I am a sinful woman in need of a savior. I am an imperfect woman after God's own heart. And so I don't deserve his grace. I don't deserve his mercy. But I am grateful that he still loves me and he still provides for me. He still gives me. He still takes care of my children. He still provides because he's Jehovah Jireh. You know, he has given me some sort of peace in the situation because he's Jehovah Shalom. And he's the God of peace. It's who he is. And so although there is error in me, there's no error in God. And so I have to lean in on him and I have to just continue to trust him. Although I may be going through this journey murmuring and grumbling like our Israelites, you know. Because again, in the moment, you forget the God that provided. You forget the God that you serve. You forget the God that loves you. You forget the God who takes care of you. You forget the God who's the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, the host of hosts. The God that still sits on the throne with Jesus at his right hand. Like we forget those things when the world is crumbling in on us. We forget. But it is God who holds us up. It is God who provides and makes sure that we are in a place where we will not stumble, we will not fall. It says the righteous fall 7 times and get back up. Is what he says. And so I have to believe that in this moment, in my brokenness, in my despair, in all the things that has taken place, I have to know that, and I have to continue to believe that in the God that I serve. I have to continue to have the faith in him that I know to be, because faith without works is dead. And I know that I have to continue to do my part. I have to continue to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I have to know that if I choose not to have faith, that it is displeasing to my Father. And so I have to remain steadfast. I have to remain hopeful. I have to trust like Hannah. I've been reading the Bible about 5 years now. And I've come across this story before, but never really delved into it. But in 1 Samuel, we have Hannah, who is barren. The Lord closed up her womb. Hannah is a woman. All she wanted was a child. She has her adversary Peninnah in her ear, you know, just mocking her and irritating her and making fun and just thinking that her life is just perfect. And so we have Hannah, a woman who is hopeful, full of faith. In her despair, cried out to the Lord, made a vow to God. Even when the people around her just didn't accept her. She didn't seem to have what it took to have a child. And so she was just a woman like me who was at her wits, who was but she had this God that she believed in. And you know, Hannah said her prayer in her heart. Eli was able to make out what she was saying because he read her lips. But I loved how Hannah prayed silently, because again, it was between her and God. She was crying out to her Father, the only one she knew could help her. Eli said, "Go in peace." Eli thought she was drunk. But Eli, being a priest, knew better. He told her to go in peace. So when we are in despair, in our brokenness, when we don't know what to do, when everything that is within our reach is no more, when we are in a dry season, when we are barren, the only thing we can do is fall to our knees, pray within our hearts, and ask God. Make a vow to God. She vowed that, God, if you give me this son, I will give him back to you. Hannah was wise. Hannah knew that none of this belonged to her, that everything is God, even our children. We are his and his only. So she made that vow. God believed her. So much so that he opened up her womb. First of all, Hannah went in peace. Hannah's countenance was different because Hannah had known that her prayer was answered. So I don't know who's in a barren season. I don't know who's broken. I don't know whose desert is dry. I don't know what's going on in your life, in your finances, in your relationships, in your job, in your home, in your mind. I don't know what is going on. But what I do know is that same God that Hannah kneeled to, that same God that Hannah invited into her heart, that same God that Hannah prayed to, who had allowed her countenance to be changed, that same God is the same God that we serve today. I don't know what bad news you've gotten. I don't know what it is, who it is that is mocking you, making fun of you, who is doing everything in their power for you to be jealous of them. I don't know what it is, but what I do know is that we serve a God who loves us, who's gentle, who's kind, a God who hears our prayers, a God who does not shut us out, a God who builds, a God who renews, who transforms, who redeems, a God who is a God of salvation, a God who will give you back 10 times more than what you deserve, what you've lost. He's a God who is deserving and worthy to be praised, because we know that once we get up from that place of despair, that once we get up from our kneeling from making our vows and opening up our hearts, by faith we know that it is done, that it is finished. And so I want you to have a heart of Hannah and know that it is done. Know that it is finished. And I pray that this word blesses you. I pray that this testimony blesses you. And I pray that God is the only source, is the only person that you look to when there's nowhere else to turn. God bless you.